Hello, guten Tag und grüß Gott. Today is April the 7th, a fine Sunday. And here we are, doing another video. I have my dog, the Ghost, right next to me. And in the other corner, there's my wife, Marge. So what I intend to do today is just go quickly through the news because I do want to leave this legacy that I keep talking about, and that is the legacy of my opinion on the news. So what I've done here, of course, is I've saved a bunch of Wall Street journals, and we'll just kind of go through this, and I'll talk about the things, that are meaningful to me. So here we have the Wall Street Journal from March the 18th, and it says, voters give Putin a fifth term. And they say under a watchful eye. I'm not sure exactly what that means, because they really didn't have any choice. They voted for, a new government, and Putin is the one that is going to run the government. So he goes back and forth between premier and vice president, and so forth. And we don't do that here, You can't, become, if you're vice president, then you can become the president, just like Johnson did and some of the others, that had to leave office because they died. All right. So in any case, what's a big deal, is that he's going to be basically president for life, and that's kind of like Chairman Xi. He's going to run the party in China for life, and that's how it goes. So, as we go on with the news, it turns out that the sales of hybrid cars accelerates as drivers hesitate to buy EVs. So this is what's going on, is there's been this huge push by state governments to really switch to EVs altogether, electric vehicles. And of course, we don't really have the infrastructure to do that suddenly, which is really kind of a crazy thing. But, they do have to start with something. So, for instance, I think like the state of Washington, Oregon, and California, they're looking at not selling any more gasoline cars. I think it was like 2025, which is like next year. And they, hopefully will be in another decade, like 35, will be totally with electric cars. Now that should have a huge impact on the air quality. There's no doubt about it. But it depends, of how we're going to generate the power that is required, to power all these cars. Because, we have to have a distribution system, we have to have a generation system. So I'm not sure what, and I'm sure that the people are smart enough to talk about this. But I haven't really heard anything in terms of a solution, but articles in the Wall Street Journal, have said, well, it's really great to go to EVs, but how are you going to power them? How are you going to charge them? So that's still something to be determined. So in other words, the consumers basically have taken that particular issue on, and they said, well, we're not that crazy about, full EVs. As a matter of fact, Hertz, which plunged into like 100,000 vehicles from Tesla, and they're pulling back on that. I think they have to meet their commitments, but they're not replacing them as they would normally. So, people are looking at EVs as something really great. You can charge at home or anywhere, but and it's great for us, to drive around town and get stuff, do our chores. But if you make a long trip, for instance, even when I go away to let's see, farther south from here, I've got about a 50-mile or so trip. I feel more comfortable to drive my gasoline car. And that's what I'm going to do because, I know that somewhere, with my 200 miles, I'm going to get nervous and I'm going to have range anxiety, and then I'm going to have to look for a charger someplace. So, yeah, so this is probably the wisdom of the market is stepping in and saying, we're going to do hybrids first. Now, interestingly enough, is Toyota, chairman of Toyota, actually knew this. Because, even a year ago or so, he said, hey, a couple of years ago, or even more, said, hey, yeah, everybody wants to jump on the bandwagon. Tesla showed us the way. Now we do EVs, okay? In fact, Volvo came out, they said, well, by 25, we're going to do only EVs and so forth. And all kinds of companies have made commitments. Biden, with the Ford Motor Company, has come out and said, hey, there's no way to go back to, the future is electric and there's no way to go back. It's all fine, wonderful rhetoric, but what's going to really happen is what the people think. And the people have spoken, and they're saying, well, not so fast. So the chairman of Toyota, I don't know whether it was Mr. Toyota or not, but chairman of Toyota, was pretty much right on it, and they're still playing around with different kinds of fuel things, like energy cells, fuel cells, that kind of thing. And so they're still, as a matter of fact, there's a fuel cell station close by to us where you can go tank up with hydrogen, to feed that fuel cell, like the most explosive gas on the planet, basically. We have water, and how did we get all that water? Because hydrogen and oxygen kind of love each other, and when they get together to create water, that reaction is huge. It's a detonation that's beyond compare. So it's kind of a good thing. It's not such a good thing. I don't know. Anyway, to get off of that, let's go to something else. So what else is in the news? The Ukraine war, of course, is still going on. It's now over 2 years because in February, I think February 20th, so they didn't celebrate, but they noted that Ukraine and Russia had been at war for 2 years. So that's incredible. And they're actually between a rock and a hard spot, because here it says in the Wall Street Journal, Ukraine's impossible choice, land or lives. And the Russians are digging in, and they're not going to give up anything. So for the Ukrainians to make progress, they're going to have to sacrifice a lot of people. And so now they're calling up younger and younger people. And I'm surprised that they're actually calling up people that are as young as 25. It's weird, because we'd call up people at 18, So who the hell is fighting that? The Volkssturm or something? I don't know. But maybe those are seasoned warriors, that are kind of fought the battles elsewhere, or have been fighting in what do they call it? The Donbass, which that's been going on for several years now, almost a decade, ever since the Ukraine went to Russia. Now, it didn't go to Russia. Russia took it. That's what's going on. And this is really funny. I got to show this. This is really cool. So the parliament in Italy, they're talking about Gaza. Okay, so one of the parliamentarians, talked to the prime minister, and they had a discussion. And here's what happened. This is really, really something, So I couldn't get over that, So the Angelo Bonelli said to the premier, he says, "Don't look at me with those disturbing eyes." And that happened right there in Parliament. So what did she do? Okay, I'll show you what she did. She quit looking with those disturbing eyes, okay? There you go. Politics in Italy. Wonderful. Yeah, I'm going to make that some sort of a moniker, disturbing eyes, If I'm going to tell you, don't look at me with those disturbing eyes. Anyway, Let's see what else is going on. Well, Tesla. Tesla has taken a big hit, over this. Their production goals. This is the first time, they actually didn't meet their production goals, and they're still the largest EV company in the world, but demand for EV is evidently also hitting them a bit. But I think in the case of Tesla, it's much more than that, because they had a terrorist attack in Berlin, and that took the steam out of production in Europe quite a bit, And they're always comparing themselves to the Chinese manufacturer BYD, but the Chinese, their output is perhaps matching Tesla in some areas. In some months, it actually has exceeded Tesla's output, but not their sales. So the thing is that they're selling these cars to themselves. They're storing them. The Chinese are kind of weird when it comes to that. They build cities, for 1 million people, and the cities are empty, which is, maybe they're going to fill in sometime in the future, but, they're doing things really kind of weird. So that's what's going on. But let me tell you about something even more sad, because the Princess of Wales says that she has cancer. Okay? And we like Kate, right? Well, Kate was kind of somebody that was very likable. She did her job making kids. So this is tragic. Along with the king also having a battle with cancer. So things are really bad in the family right now, in the royal family. But cancer is not necessarily a death sentence anymore. I had prostate cancer, and I don't have it anymore. So it's I had lung cancer, and I don't have it anymore. Of course, you always got to worry about where is it going to crop up next. But hey, it's not like oh my God, I'm dying. Hell, we're all dying. Ever since we were born, we're beginning to die. So hey, we're good with that, right? Okay. So what happened? So the Russians had a terrorist attack, and I think nearly 400 people died in at an event, at a stadium. I think
It was a concert.
In a concert, yeah. So that really hurt, and evidently ISIS took credit for it. They're saying, "Hey, we did this." But Putin, is not having any of that. He says, well, these ISIS guys, they were given free passage through the Ukraine, so it's really the Ukraine's fault,
Oh.
You know what I mean? So that's what's going on. But so our Congress and also our Senate, they're going after TikTok because, they think, that Chinese are gathering data on American lives and so forth. But here's what's happening. Here's the title of the article. It says, "You can't do that. Lawmakers, the kids object to TikTok crackdown. Moms and dads of Congress get an earful from their own teens and tweens." So, yeah, the kids love that TikTok, you see them doing TikTok shit all the time, so. All right, so Boeing, I talked about Boeing before, and holy crap, they're quitting left and right. The Boeing CEO quits, and now they're actually after the chairman of the board, and so, yeah. So the buzz is that that Boeing really did take this DEI to some sort of a serious extent. In other words, they hired people that were not qualified, just to fulfill their quotas that they had set for their executives of being diverse and equitable, and inclusive, right? DEI. Oh yeah, right. It sounds so great, and it why not be inclusive? The thing about it is you shouldn't be exclusive. In other words, somebody qualified comes to you, and happens to be black, yellow, green, or whatever, or female, or heaven forbid, transgender or something, and you can see that they're qualified and they are hired, they're on probation and they're doing a bang up job. Why wouldn't you want to keep them? This is the way business ought to be running. What the hell? Instead of hanging on with people that fulfill your numbers and your dreams. But it's not entirely the business's fault. Because it is all the business's fault, but the banks, are also causing a problem because, they have to borrow for the payroll. They can't come up with a payroll every month or every couple of weeks or whatever, without borrowing money from the banks. And the banks are saying, oh, yeah, how's your DEI score, How's your DEI score? Because, if your DEI score is high, we can give you a better deal, on interest and so forth, FTX, the planned reboot never got off the ground. So Sam Bankman-Fried is going to start a jail sentence. And I think they're trying to put him in some sort of a resort prison, I think, So anyway, that's what he's hoping for because he doesn't have to actually start his prison sentence till later on this year for some reason. There may be appeals or whatever is going on. But they wanted to resurrect FTX, and make it a crypto exchange again. That didn't work, So, well, here's a piece of good news. DeSantis, the governor of California. The governor of Florida. Oh yeah, not the governor of California. Governor of Florida and Disney. They came to an agreement. So they're no longer feuding. As a matter of fact, everybody says they won. It's probably a good thing. But the problems for Disney aren't over yet because they're another one of those high DEI score companies. And so this guy by the name of Peltz, who has an investment group, started to wanted to get a seat on the board. And of course they're saying, oh my God, no, we can't do this because, Peltz tells them, I have a huge investment in Disney, and I want to protect that. And you guys are screwing up like crazy because, you're making all the stars black and female and stuff, and that's not what the viewers want. They want their heroes, whatever heroes they were, and if they happen to be white, that's great, So you guys are really screwing the investor, okay? That was Peltz's argument, and they turned it on him, and they said, well, this is exactly the kind of guy we don't want on a board. A guy that is not for the inclusion, and you know what I mean, all that kind of stuff. So they managed to stave that off, so in any case. But then, more shit happened here. The container ship, in Baltimore crashed into a bridge. But what was really interesting is that the pilot on the container ship said that he lost control of the steering and they just couldn't do anything. But you know what he did do? He immediately called emergency services and said, shut that bridge down to traffic, and saved, who knows, dozens of lives, So good on him, good on him. But yeah, container ship hit a bridge. Oh, man, that's kind of sucky, So there you go. And here, well, you've never seen a Wall Street Journal like this before. This is the front page, okay? This is the front page. And the reason it is the front page is because of Gershowik. I think that's how it's pronounced. The Wall Street journalist that is imprisoned in Russia, and Putin is holding him. And so what they said here is Evan Gershowitz, his story should be here, and you just saw it, that it was an empty page. And, Putin kind of has the upper hand on this because evidently he's got a bunch of Western, if we're going to call him Eastern, He's got a bunch of Western people in jail, you know, that he's willing to trade for some of his badasses that are out there, you know. So right now he's got the upper hand. And here's the article that says ship's pilot made a call to halt the bridge traffic, and that was such a great thing, you know. So what else is going on? Of course, we skated right through the Easter holidays here. You know, we had Easter, and yeah, it was Easter. You know, so, you know, oddly enough, you know that what is the Jewish holiday?
Passover.
Passover wasn't anywhere near Easter. Evidently, it's coming up.
22nd.
The 22nd of April, which is interesting. But there was an article here in the paper that's kind of interesting. Fatal fall tears apart a storied British family. So this British family is really rich, okay? And there is this guy by the name of Walter Wamsley. And, oh man, he is a spry 81-year-old, you know. His wife always told him, well, you're going to live to 100, you know, and all that stuff, you know. So he's a spry lady, 81-year-old. You know, full of fun, full of energy, full of all this, full of bullshit probably. But anyway, they're very wealthy and an important family, you know, in the UK. And one morning, she calls emergency services and says, my husband is laying down at the bottom of the stairs and bleeding to death and is dead, okay? So they come, sure enough, it's dead. Well, how did that happen? This is a spry 81-year-old. How did he fall the stairs, you know, because he's bounding up and down, you know, and all that kind of stuff. Well, it turns out that this is not his first marriage, okay? So the kids are saying, well, the stepmother did it. So now it's a real problem, you know. Anyway, so you better have an alibi when I fall down the stairs. Otherwise, you're in trouble. Okay, Russia uses crypto to sidestep sanctions, you know, because we're sanctioning banks that are doing business with Russia and so forth, and we don't want them to buy anything in drone parts and stuff like this, especially because the drones are about the most effective tool and weapon, you know, against the Ukrainians. And so they're saying, well, you know, I mean, we don't need a bank because we're doing crypto, you know. We're doing crypto. And so, yeah, there's this whole thing going on. And so the Russians pretty much can get their stuff. And, you know, I've said that in the very beginning, is that the Russians, they're a tenacious bunch, okay? You know, they're not going to, you know, I think that conflict is going to wind up either in World War III, you know, where we're actually after each other with nuclear weapons, or it'll be a stalemate. You know, Ukraine's not going to win, Russia's not going to win. I think this is my prediction, you know, coming from an 84-year-old that's been around a bit. You know, there you go. So the Jews really screwed up. You know, one of their drone operators, you know, really attacked a convoy of aid relief people that had just delivered, you know, their goods to Gaza, to the, you know, where they're starving. And it was in the middle of the night, and they identified them as an enemy, and they, you know, killed 7 of those 8 workers. And this is huge, you know, because, you know, when you start killing 8 or interfering with aid to civilians who are non-combatants, so to speak, although I can see the Jews' point, you know, there aren't any non-combatants in Gaza. They all hated the Jews, you know. They were all taking up arms. They were hiding Hamas people. They were, you know, so, you know, it's really a dicey situation. So, hey, look at this. Taiwan has an earthquake, and I guess it was a pretty good one. It's like 7.4, but wow, take a look at this picture. That's worth showing, you know, so So, they have their challenges, and evidently there's an earthquake in New York somewhere. He said.
Yeah, the East Coast.
Somewhere in the East Coast. And who wouldn't love this? Oh my God, I mean, what does it say here? It says, the unbearable lightness of being adorable. Yeah, that's it. All right, so, yeah, Mount Etna. Mount Etna smokes like all the time. When I lived in Europe, of course, we always had, an eye on Mount Etna. It was kind of, because it was always rumbling, it was doing something, you know what I mean? Etna was always kind of in the works, and now it's doing something really interesting, and I have to show this picture here. It's blowing smoke rings. That's so cool. All right? That is just too cool. So, there's just one more thing, Here's a newspaper that we call the Chronicle. It is called the Chronicle. And it says, the feds want grizzlies in the North Cascades. So here are the grizzly bears, and the feds want grizzlies in there. And, what they're saying is, well, the grizzlies were part of the ecology, at one time. And, if you think that deer wasting and some of those problems have cropped up, is because, the ecology is out of balance without the grizzlies. Well, you know what? From my perspective, that is the stupidest thing I've ever heard, and that is so liberal green bullshit. And I can't say it bad enough, because, you put that out there and you say, oh yeah, the grizzlies were here first, before the Indians, before everybody else. Well, so was the short-faced bear, didn't let anybody in there for 1,000,000 years, until the Asians came with their spears, and killed the short-faced bear. And that was bigger than the grizzly, Anyway, so does it belong to the short-faced? Oh, there are no more short-faced bears, but maybe there's some DNA somewhere. But anyway, so here's the thing, is the grizzlies are going to be introduced to the Northern Cascades. And that, again, sounds, well, yeah, there's very few people there, there's not hardly anybody there, So what if he, every decade or so, a hiker gets eaten, right? I mean, that's the federal attitude, it's better for the environment. Well, here's what happens. Those bears aren't stupid bears. They're not going to go chase down a friggin' deer, out there, and, they're going to go where the people are, where there is food, So this is really, I can just see it, it's the same thing as their introduction of the wolves. They introduced the wolves, in the area east of the Cascades. Why? Because the wolves were there. Well, the wolves didn't go after the deer or the rabbits or anything like this, because that's really hard work. It's easy to go by a farmer and get a sheep, Yeah. So what did the farmers do? They killed them, And that same damn thing is going to happen to the grizzlies. So there's basically setting the grizzlies out there to be killed. And really some bad press, because, some mother and their child will be out there, walking in the Cascades, in a public park or something, and a grizzly comes and eats them.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a good reason why there are no grizzlies there, because people move there, and these guys don't live well with people. They may be nice-looking teddy bears, but they just don't live well with people. Anyway.
Before you sign off,
yeah,
why don't you explain your T-shirt?
Oh, yeah. Why don't you explain it?
Oh, well, this T-shirt with the owl on it is what shows up when you order a car from Tesla. And this was for the Cybertruck. So we went to the Peterson Museum, and they had these T-shirts, so I got it for Whit, because he has ordered his Cybertruck.
Yes. There's a Cybertruck in my future, we hope. And, it's the order is confirmed, the finances are confirmed. So, yes, I'm going to be bragging about a Cybertruck. A Cybertruck. Holy crap. Anyway, I think, Ghost was really good with us here, right?
Yes, he was.
So I think I'm about to sign off. And this is my weekend newscast. And thank you for being here, and thank you, Goose, for being so good. And all that kind of stuff. You want to say hi? Let me see your paw. See, there's a pure paw right there. Okay. All right. So with that, I bid you farewell. Auf Wiedersehen. So long. Tschüss. And that's it. Bye.